Hello, and welcome to another piece of Clutching Daggers, a tale straight from the heart of the Jakuls in this Stalktober special event. As much as I can be here with you, I'm your intrepid host, Lothran, and we still have the first section of a very important series to complete. So without further interruption, let's flip through the pages, shall we? So hurry up and grab a quick snack to munch upon, settling into your favorite spot. Get as perfectly cozy as you can and listen carefully to Clutching Daggers Part 4. Excellent question. Niktus dragged the view along for the ride. You can see the shelves are mounted on a pivot point. That's a little further to the back wall than the walkway. I still leave space from the wall to make repairs easy, but come with me for a minute. This one is ready and waiting. Niktus walked down the long hall to the third set of planter boxes. The great thing about tomos is while they're finicky about water, they require very little light, and I found they actually grow much worse in well-lit conditions. He reached over the side, remembering to drag the viewpoint with him to show what he'd set up and was about to do. This is the safety lever right here. He flicked the metal rod into the off position, freeing the bone gears he'd designed, shaped, and carved by hand. You can see that it's not tipping. I've set it so it requires more weight-power conversion than even the massive amount you get from the dirt and water in the planter at any time. You just wind the crank a few times and it starts spilling over like this. The planter tipped itself over, tilting as it did so on a metal hinge so that it didn't dump dirt into the shelf beneath it. In a room like this, with this setup, you can only have 3 stacked shelves. I could rent a higher space, but all of this is just to generate funds to purchase a decent spot of land from the preservers. Any other questions from the audience? Are we going to talk about how you're ignoring me? Klata asked as her screen popped back into existence for the 3rd time. Niktus frowned at the extra viewport. No, I'm ignoring you. I said I was sorry. An apology is not what I desire from you. Niktus shut the screen, finally paying for the block on her signal. Any other questions? Yeah, I see you have some, netting in the shelf. What is that about? One of the viewers asked through the pay channel. Niktus had raw screening messages, looking for questions actually pertinent to the topic at hand, and making sure there was a nominal fee based on a percentage of the income level of the person asking the question. He let anyone take his classes, but he demanded a percentage rather than a flat fee for his courses. That way the person viewing his stream wasn't limited by their current income level, but was purchasing something that they valued, with an amount that would be significant to them. Okay, pay attention. This step is important, but my current fix is tedious, so if any of you can figure out a way to innovate this, it's another step that I'd be glad to test out potential products for, or even purchase from someone else. Niktus's view count started shooting right back up. A few people had already made a small fortune, improving on his ideas and selling them to Niktus and other potential buyers. The Tomos goes through various stages of development, and in each one prefers a different level of water saturation. I've tried to make a multi-stage planter that can shift through all the stages easily, but it's too difficult a problem with my current tools as of yet. Niktus cleaned off the netting with one hand. This material is actually the painted canvas that you can rarely find in the starting rooms, a little bit better than what's usually there, and quite perfect for this purpose. Sometimes it's also on the story rooms deeper in the labyrinth. I've seen it in other places, but those sections aren't really long or wide enough for the purpose I had in mind. Niktus reached out and plucked out a fully grown Tomos. It's not perfect, and you can't reuse them for more than 4 or 5 harvests. 3 if you want the best flavor. He held up the near-perfect, deep red diamond-shaped root. You can see the ring where the plant grabs the canvas. The dirt rests on top of this fabric, and the water flows through a reservoir below it. When the plant is young, that would be the room we started this cast in, you pretty much want to drown it for an hour, twice or so every day. I used simple water clocks that I built in within the maze and carried out into the main room. You could use your blip, He pointed towards Ra, who ignored him in favor of his important monitoring task. After the sproutling stage is over, you want to be passing maybe a gallon per plant through the irrigation system, but constantly draining it every 10 minutes or so. Just enough to flow against the roots, but not enough to get up against the plant itself. Wherever these wonderful things came from, it was probably tropical, and they likely would have sprouted toward the end of a rainy season, to grow to maturity as the land dried out. So here we are at the end of the room. This is the last stage. You want to have a trickle under each plant, and that's this fabric here. The fabric keeps the plant a certain distance above the water streams. I'll just slip the cloth out. He pulled off the clamp securing the cloth on one side of the box to reveal grooves that fed water across the angled bottom of the planter box. See, this is why I have that slight angle to the boxes. Gravity irrigation. The best work is no work at all. He joked to his students, receiving a few monetary tips for his ability to keep things energetic and well-humored. A buzzer sounded off. Sorry folks, that's all the time we have for today. I'll be back sometime next week, and don't forget the next episode of Innovations and Failures, which will be in 2 days. I have my thoughts on the gnarl throwing knives and quite a number of sheaths and smith-forged weapons fresh onto the market, so don't miss out on that. Remember to tell your friends and your enemies where you got the best tips and tricks in the business, whether it be in swords and steel, food and funding, or planting and crafting. I'm still Niktus, and yes, I still kick a lot of ass. He flipped the screen closed with a smile, setting to work harvesting the rest of his crops that needed to be switched over. Ra, how close are we to purchasing? He asked as he set aside the bucket of vegetables for washing. We have enough to purchase the permanent residence, Niktus. He rose up from where he sat, flying up to above Niktus's head, just out of reach. Do you want me to purchase the site? No. We need to gather more funds for setup and transfer costs. There's a ton of work here that needs to get done before we can even begin to move from this locale to that one. Plus, Ra made that ba-da-da-boop sound of an emergency message coming through his secure channel. Put her through. Are you going to give me a chance to explain why I was so mad? I do not care why you were mad, Niktus replied while he finished cleaning and wiping down the inside of the planter box. But you don't know how hurtful. Fuck off with your worthless feelings. Alright? I have a plan, and you getting mad when I tell you that I'm much closer to completing it than yesterday does not help the situation. There was a long period of silence while Niktus put the shelf back in place and cleaned up his work area, going back through all of the steps to lock it there. Putting a lid over it for now, he bent to start sifting through the dirt and placing it in buckets for remixing. Are you going to talk to me? Niktus turned a baleful glare to the view screen she was speaking through. Stop trying to throw your emotions around like a wrecking ball and I'll consider it. Niktus walked away from her and the screen, dumping the dirt in the furthest bin for temp storage, and sorting before he made his slow way back to the rest of the pile. Had enough time to mull it over? Cleta nodded against his words, but chose not to speak. Excellent. I have a plan. Me moving into a permanent residence isn't permanent. It will provide a much better base of operations to invest in multiple areas of improvement, as well as allow me to innovate at a pace and distinction no one else has yet to do within the trials. It is a step in the process to moving towards you. One step. We have time. Stop whining about your fucking feelings. If you're so concerned about us needing to travel toward one another, then why haven't you moved from where I first found you in all of this time? Niktus saw her try to hang up before he did. Careful, he warned her. You don't want me to lose interest now, do you? She halted her motion, shaking her head. I'll contact you when I have news. You should only contact me the next time you have important or relevant information for me. He flicked the view screen off in the final irritating fashion that he knew she had to loathe by now. Here it is again, the mark that is the end of our time together. This was Clutching Daggers, Part 4. I do so hope you'll join us for the last part next time. This was another tale straight from the heart of the Jakuls. As always, I've been your dependable host Lothran, and I leave you in the most capable extra hands in the business.
Hello, and good night to all. Leave your comments, kindness, and questions down below. Like and share to help us learn, spread, and grow. And feed a hungry Bramble. That's me. And don't forget, we encourage each and every one of you to stay safe out there. Goodbye and good luck, everybody.